Okay, there we go. Good evening, and thanks for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the crisis alert system we're excited to bring to the district. Thought we'd just do a brief overview of the program, and basically what the crisis alert system is a wearable badge that's issued to every district employee. So administrators, teachers, classified staff, secretaries, custodians, food service, everyone. It's worn just behind your badge. And it's got a little button on it that allows any employee to request assistance from their campus responders at any time on any of our campuses. It's basically a one-button activation. Mr. Kiger is going to go into detail in terms of the two options that this badge provides in terms of types of service. But the location accuracy is a big piece of this product that we're very excited about. When someone summons an alert, it instantly pulls up to the campus responders exactly where that person is. So it could be as specific as room 2210 in Olathe Northwest High School. It shows that exact location. Provides total campus coverage, so parking lots, playgrounds, district activity complexes, et cetera. And then the other piece is it's nice, it's got an audio and visual notification. So many times throughout the district, as we've had different issues come up, sometimes there's some areas where it's hard to hear the PA, whether that's a band, classroom, some of your performing arts, theater, sometimes the gym. And so there's a visual notification component to this as well. And I'll let Mr. Kiger kind of walk you through the two options.
Thank you, and good evening. So just want to touch base real quick on a couple of the options. So what this badge does is it will give all of our staff the ability to do two different things with the badge. What's going to be utilized 99% of the time is what we call the staff alert. So the staff alert basically is a 3 press of this badge. So you press that button 3 times, and that's what's going to send the signal to our Bluetooth beacons that will be throughout the building, signifying that staff member needs help. And we'll talk about what some of those reasons are that a staff member might use that. But it's going to be basically your medical situations, or if there's a disturbance of some kind that just basically needs to be handled by the principal or the SRO or the nurse or what have you. So that's what's going to be used more times than not. The other feature that this badge has is the ability to do a campus lockdown. So in the worst case scenario, if a staff member sees a situation, whether it's a weapon on campus or something that requires to put the building in lockdown, then we're going to ask that staff member just to continue pressing that button. After basically they're going to press it until they see the building go into lockdown. Those same beacons that we're going to put up throughout the building also have that they light up. And then it also has the ability to take over the intercom as well as computer screens, virtually notifying everybody in the building that there's a situation that we need to be in lockdown for, and we need to get behind a closed door. So again, that badge functions for both of those reasons. When the staff alert is pressed, like you see there, the map is going to pop up to the campus responders. So again, at the secondary level, it's going to be our SROs, our principals, our nurse. They're going to get a map of the building, and there's going to be a flashing red dot of exactly where in their building that person needs help. It's also going to say that person's name as well. So that admin team or SRO is going to know exactly who needs help and exactly where they are, and then that gives them the ability to respond accordingly. In the lockdown feature, it virtually works the same. However, when they keep pressing the button, they're going to press it until they see those visual cues and those beacons lighting up red. That's going to go throughout the building. The computer screens, again, like you see there on your screen, are going to pop up lockdown, and that's going to be a message that we cater and that fits our nomenclature. But then that way, any desktop computer that's on is going to see that. Any mobile device connected to the network is going to see that. So that could be a substitute teacher in the building. That could be an itinerant staff member that maybe is normally in that building. They're going to be notified. There's going to be beacons, restrooms. I mean, people are going to know. So again, like Dr. McMullen said, if there's somebody in the gym or the band room or a place that you might not always hear something, but there's other methods to make sure we get the message out. It also has the capability to go directly to the authorities if we choose to utilize that function. So that's again very customizable, that we can do it how we see fit here in our district. The other piece I really like about it is our campus responders. So again, our admin team, our SROs, district administrators will have the app on their phone. And what that will do is it will allow anybody that has that app to also put a building in a lockdown. For example, if Olathe PD were to call me and we've got a situation at a certain school and we need to put your folks on restricted, instead of taking the time to find the number, call the school, hope they answer on time. We can just pull out any one of us can pull out an app on our phone and press the button, and then maybe we'll have the lights flash green and let the building know, or blue, that, hey, we're in restricted right now, and that will also come over the intercom as well. So it's just a way to expedite that information sharing, so we can get our staff and students into a safe spot. I'll let Dr. McMullen go on the rest there.
And basically, we break it down by level of things that you will see most likely on a weekly basis in our schools, to where staff be able to summons help at the elementary level, everything from elopements to medical emergencies, special needs calls for help, playground accidents, and then also, as Mr. Kiger alluded to, the panic button for active shooter or intruder. Secondary level, many of those same things, but also sometimes you wrap up to fights or classroom disruptions, suspicious activity, injury in an athletic event, as again, it'll go out to our football fields and tracks, other places, et cetera. So really excited about the instant communication that it provides. Benefits, pretty self-explanatory, but basically it puts the power in each staff member's hands to summon help. It also, for the first time in our district, allows any staff member to put a building on lockdown, which we think is important. Many times, time can be of the essence, and waiting for the principal or an administrator to make that decision can be certainly concerning. So given that power to the staff, we think is really important. Response time obviously is drastically reduced. The location accuracy is just incredible. I mean, down to the actual spot in the school, and again, it also alerts us to who pushed the button as well. So you know who to look for when you're responding. And then again, the feeling of safety and connection by staff. The other districts that Mr. Kiger and I have visited with, which have more than 8 different districts around the country that have this, just swear by it, and they say basically their staff just feels so empowered and so much safer having this, and have really praised the response time by their building administration, SROs, counselors, school nurse, because you're getting a lot of support anytime you need help as a staff member. So that's a brief overview of this, and we'd certainly both stand for any questions that the board may have.
Before we do that, I wonder if you wouldn't mind 2 things. You and I talked about the backup the other day. I think it was a Wi-Fi backup, if I remember right, that you and I talked about. So maybe you could visit about that. And then I wonder just also if you would share a couple of the stories that you shared with myself in terms of your visit to the school districts and the kinds of things that they saw, not necessarily related to active shooter, but just supporting staff in moments of need.
Yeah, so as we said, the system runs off of Bluetooth and obviously is connected to our system, Wi-Fi. But if the Wi-Fi were to go down in a building, there is a cellular backup that kicks in on this product. So there is always coverage in our buildings while we have students and staff in our buildings. The second piece is a few of the stories we heard from other districts, real life examples. In, I believe it's Volusia County, Florida, had a bus driver that had finished their route, went back to the bus barn, had a heart attack, hit the button 3 times, and it alerted the response team. They got out there and were able to get an AED out there and save the staff member's life. There was another incident in another district where a child had swallowed a rock on the playground. As we know, elementary kids will eat about anything, including rocks. And this child was in dire straits, but that response time by the nurse was so much quicker, getting that instant alert. They were able to get out there, do the Heimlich, and save the child. And they just had example after example after example, situations where it truly made a difference in the schools. So.
One of the things that I love about it, and hearing Dr. McMullen and Officer Kiger share those situations, is, right now with the walkie-talkie and the intercom, when we have something like that happens in a school, more often than not, it disrupts the instructional period for the entire school, because we have enough walkies around that somebody's hearing what's going on, and certainly we want to attend to whatever the challenge is, but really everybody doesn't need to know, and it doesn't need to disrupt the learning day for all of our students and staff. And that's one of the things that I think is pretty incredible about this, that we'll still get help, we'll still get support, but the whole building's not going to be aware that there's somebody on the playground choking, which I think, in terms of just focusing on our mission as education, that's a pretty positive piece too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a couple questions I could ask. When you talk about in the buildings, when we talk now, so the first thing I want to say is that as a prelude to the community, this has been a conversation for many months. It didn't just happen as of March. It didn't just happen this summer, right? It's something you guys have been working on, embedding the various tools and resources. And there were many different things looked at and reviewed. And one of the reasons that you guys share with us is the power of this is that every single person that works for the district becomes someone with the device. And now we've amplified beyond the SROs and administrators to thousands of key first responders with not having to be an SRO, but capable of letting somebody know there's a need. And that was something, when you guys shared it, was really, really impactful, is that wherever they are. The second thing is with the wherever they were, is that it's not just in the buildings. You guys, can you talk a little bit about how it extends to the CBAC and the ODAC and the football field and those kinds of things that coaches would have those in those places as well? Can you talk a little bit about that? Because that really moves. You know, you talk a lot of times, Matt used to, is we're the largest network in the metro area, right? That this is a pretty big deal and it covers a lot of space. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
You know, and really one thing that we were excited about is because we do already have technology out at our activity complexes and, you know, all over our schools, it does allow so many times, we'll just say Olathe North, for instance, the C-team soccer team may be out on the practice field there, and at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, and there's not a ton of people still there, they hit it, they're going to get response really quickly from one of the many first responders there on that staff. So it definitely, it will locate by field, by location. So at CBAC, where you have, you know, 8 different fields between baseball, softball, soccer, and football, it'll pinpoint exactly which field needs assistance, and again, that's a instant access that we have not had in the past, that we're really excited about for staff.
And given the distance from the main building, sometimes, you know, my experience is that third of a mile, that's a long way for people to get to, but it's who's closest, and it's really creating a mesh of a team. And that's one of the things that we heard from the community and from your staff across the district was bring us closer together, empower us all to be part of, you know, saving lives or helping each other. And that this, as you guys talked about earlier, they use these every day, right? That's one of the things, is that it's an everyday thing. Because kids do fall down and things happen in classes and teachers do need help. And that was one of the most important things I saw. In the communications, I have a question in the communicating, right? So if there were a lockdown, right? You have the button, the people will be trained how to use that to lock down the building. Who would get the communication at that point in time, or who would initiate the why and the how, and how does that get to the individual staff or substitute staff within the building? Can you talk about how we take this and, you know, add process to it?
So anytime an alert goes off in a building, that building response team will get the alert, obviously. So let's take an elementary school. So principal, counselor, nurse, might be a 5th grade teacher who's CPR certified, could be the PE teacher, whomever they deem their response team. But also Mr. Caldwell, Mr. Kiger, and myself will get them here at the district level. And that instantly prompts the communication of, we're on the phone or radio instantly. Hey, what do you have going on? Do you need help from us, et cetera? Obviously, if it is a 8-button panic or a lockdown, that certainly then would prompt immediate call to the police as well. So it definitely starts that communication piece instantly, and then we just go into our normal protocols at that point in time in terms of who's communicating with the staff, who's working with Maggie and her department on communication for parents, updating obviously the superintendent and the board, all those things. So it really just gets that process rolling that much quicker by having this versus our former protocol.
What was our projected, I like it, so I'm gonna vote for it, but so I'm gonna assume, what's our expected rollout timetable that you all are thinking about?
Yeah, we're ready to start installation here next month with board approval. And so we are extremely confident that we'll have all secondary schools up and running prior to school starting. But Mr. Kiger just updated me earlier today and said that the company really believes they've got a good chance of having every building with students in it ready to go by the first day of school. So if we don't meet that first day of school, it'll be very shortly after. So given that, we will be training all staff during pre-service on this with the assumption that we are starting day 1 of school. So it's a very aggressive timeline, but one we think we can meet.
It's
And
great.
that's terrific. I wanted to thank Dr. Yeager and Dr. McMillan and Mr. Tigers. The responsiveness of all of our teams, having already been in the pipeline to having these conversations and vetting these things, and our ability to be ready for the safety, security, protection of not just the students, but the staff is it's very important these days and brings a lot more confidence to one of our primary goals of not just educating, but protecting those kids when they're in the buildings and on our facilities. So I wanted to commend you guys. That's seems like an amazingly fast process, but I know that y'all been working on it for a while. So thank you.
Since winter break on this product specific.
And one of the things that I would mention too that's positive, is really the districts and this team's effort, and also the foresight of the board, that, as we prepare for bond issues and we identify the strands within a bond issue, that, the passage of our bond positioned us well to be able to do this, and the timing worked well. So I appreciate you calling that out. And the other thing, Jim and Brent would never say this about themselves, but we really will be a leader in our region with this product, and really the first district to put power like this in every single staff member's hand, and kudos to them for really going the extra mile to dig into it, to do all the reference work, to traveling to Florida to be on the ground and seeing it in action. Those things all take time and effort, and so I also am really proud of the work that these two have done with input of a lot of other people to get this product to the point that it's in front of you all tonight. So.
I do want to point out to the board that trip to Florida was not as glamorous as it sounds.
Well, it was about 48 hours, right?
It was quick.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you guys for the time and work that you've put in your teams, and leaders lead. So, any other questions on this item? Okay. Seeing none, thank you. Appreciate that. Are there any other questions in section 3? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I just wanted to call out that there's a bid for the replacement of AEDs, and in my world, that's pretty doggone important. The state of Kansas requires kids to be able to have had at least hands-only CPR and AED familiarity. Started in incoming freshmen of 2019 as a state law, and so it's one thing to have them required, but it's also important and valuable. The school district has gone extra the last several years to upgrade and update and add, even bringing in fall, last November, December, working with a local not-for-profit to add a second AED at the middle school. So from a personal perspective, I love it. I'm happy that we're taking care of these things and keeping these things update. God forbid we ever use them, but they are there and people are trained, and that's really important that again, it's another thing of leadership, of seeing ahead, paying attention, and being proactive, because we actually have more AEDs per student than most any school district that I'm aware of in the country, and there's still a lot of school districts in this state that don't have any AEDs. So again, those things matter. They're about security, they're about safety, and they're about the well-being of our kids and our adults, so thank you.
Well said. That sounds like you would like to move to approve items 3.01 through 3.07 as
I will.
presented.
So I move that we adopt action bids, contracts, agreements 3.1 through 3.7.
Second.